Thanks, Sean.
We'll talk soon. All right. Welcome to Hannity. This hour is chock full of breaking news, incredible developments tonight. We'll bring it all to you. Articles of impeachment have now been filed against the Deputy AG, Rod Rosenstein. Now, the days of Rosenstein's obstruction may soon be coming to an end. We will have full coverage of this breaking news throughout the hour. And first, another day, another scandalous. Oh, the sky is falling. The earth is shattered. Days and days of breathless peddling of lies by the mainstream media. We've got the best montage I think we've ever put together. This time, America's professional Trump haters are spinning in circles over a totally insignificant audio recording between Michael Cohen and Donald Trump. It's clearly the media's anti-Trump meltdown du jour, but in moments, we'll show you how this tape is much ado about nothing. Plus, we're going to take you on a very frightening journey tonight. You got to buckle up. You may want to warn the kids through some of the worst examples of the destroy Trump media moving daily, crisis to crisis to crisis. We've got the tape. It's amazing. And we'll do something you will not see in the mainstream media. We have amazing, great news tonight on the economy and other news on the foreign policy front with the Trump administration. By the way, including strong new poll numbers. So much for all the media beatdowns. And of course, we are expecting Friday the quarterly, second quarter GDP numbers. It should make America proud. We're hoping for a major breakthrough, and we had one breakthrough today on one of the biggest economic partners we have. Oh, there's no trade war. They said the sky was falling there, too. Free and fair trade on the horizon. Huge concessions the president got today as it relates to the European Union, and significant diplomatic progress under the leadership of the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo. Wow, what a beatdown he gave senators today. And we'll show you how he helped actually educate Democrats on the president's strong, sound, tough on Russia policy. All right, we have a lot of real news to get to in tonight's breaking news full hour opening monologue. All right, we'll start with the one secret audio recording heard around the newsrooms all around the country. Conspiracy TV, MSNBC, and CNN, and all the likes of them. Private conversation recorded between Michael Cohen and his client Donald Trump. Last night it was released by Cohen's attorney, Lanny Davis. In spite of all the breathlessness in the reporting, the tape is ambiguous, kind of hard to hear, reveals no groundbreaking new information. Let's just play it for you ourselves.
I need to open up a company for the transfer of all of that info regarding our friend David, so that I'm going to do that right away. I've actually come up and I've spoken to Alan Weisselberg about how to set the whole thing up with funding. Yes, and it's all the stuff, because you never know where that company, you never know where he's going to be. Correct. So I'm all over that, and I spoke to Alan about it when it comes time for the financing, which will be.
What financing?
We'll have to pay you. So no. No.
What you just heard amounts to nothing. It never happened. The contents of that tape provide literally no new information. Zero significance here. No criminal law in question. And what you just witnessed is something that occurs every single day at every major company in the country. Crisis management to protect a brand's image and reputation. In this case, it's the Trump Organization. But over on the Destroy Trump media, this was, once again, a daily, earth-shattering scandal that's going to bring down the president. Except it's not. Take a look.
We now have a secret audio recording that apparently shows Donald Trump discussing payments to bury a story about an alleged affair with a Playboy playmate. And the timing here is everything. The payments were discussed just before he won the election. Think about that.
There may be other issues here. There may be bank fraud, tax fraud, money laundering issues with the way they structured the payments. Those kinds of issues in the end could be more dangerous and damaging than the campaign finance issue.
I think it's a very embarrassing and humiliating tape for the president. And I think, ironically, Giuliani says, I can understand what's on this tape because I've listened to mob tapes. You know what? The president is similar to a mob tape.
If you listen to this, again, it sounds like this is the weekly or the monthly Michael's here to figure out what we have to cover up meeting.
Now, these are the same people now who literally peddle day after day, crisis after crisis. It's like 24/7. The same people who are pushing impeachment even before the president took office. The same people who were predicting the end of days, or at least the end of Trump, ever since he descended from that escalator in Trump Tower in 2015 and announced his candidacy to be the president. The same people who have literally gone through 3 major crises this week alone. Now, in order to show you how the mainstream corrupt media has literally turned into a real-life version of Chicken Little, we put together what we're calling a mega montage of some of the worst moments. But get ready, because the sky is falling every second of the day. Watch.
You better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket next.
I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on.
Sorry. I understand why so many people voted for him. I understand where you were coming from. I understand why you liked him. But this man is lying to you.
Donald Trump is a president with whom there is grave question about his fitness and ability to conduct the office of the presidency.
I'll say it again. This Russian connection just keeps building, and every time it builds and expands, you have to wonder if Trump himself isn't worried about what's swirling around under the covers.
The entire world's watching, and of course, most importantly, Vladimir Putin's watching. It seemed like yesterday was his love note to Vladimir Putin.
It is certainly an unusual speech, a weird speech, Rocket Man, insulting Kim Jong-un.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Of course I want to punch him in the face.
Right.
16 tweets today to start the new year, some of them deeply disturbing. These are the messages from a person who is not well.
He said he's an excellent help. I mean, Sanjay Gupta came out and was like, not so sure about excellent help.
President Trump is goading Kim Jong-un to test a nuclear missile again, to prove its reliability, to show him wrong.
The Stormy saga takes a dramatic turn as the porn star speaks out on her alleged affair with citizen Trump.
Stormy Daniels is lawyer.
We haven't heard from him about the Stormy Daniels affair.
I guess he's a holer.
Is there a difference if the president said hole or house? I want to read the definition of treason.
This was nothing short of treasonous.
The idea that the president would be revoking security clearance, not based on wrongdoing, just based on words, is shameful.
With any previous president, if you'd woken up to this all-caps tweet threatening war with Iran, you'd think he probably belongs in a padded cell. But with Trump, this is kind of business as normal.
Just a tiny sampling. This is literally now every minute, every hour of every day. The media, their friends on the left, 3 years of running, obsessing over the crisis of the second, totally ignoring the biggest issues that we, the people, are facing in this country, and ignoring the massive success out of the Trump administration. And if they can't weaponize the story against President Trump, they don't really seem interested at all in covering it. News is non-existent in this country on these so-called news channels. Right here on this show, we have been sounding the alarm about the serious corruption, real abuse of power, a real Russia scandal at the highest levels of the DOJ and the FBI. Over at the Destroy Trump media, crickets. Now, naturally, the media goes to great lengths to avoid talking about all the positive developments surrounding the country and the Trump administration. They don't want you to know about the huge successes out of the White House. For the first time in years, we'll find out Friday, America's GDP is seeing healthy, real growth. Remember, it was just a short time ago. The Obama administration wanted Americans to accept our so-called new normal, like Jimmy Carter saying, wear a sweater, a pathetic growth rate of 1 or 2%. Now, according to projections, our second quarter growth should be about 4%, maybe higher. Add to that, we now have historic job growth, 2 million fewer people on food stamps. There are more jobs available than there are people on unemployment in the country. And, oh, by the way, the greatest labor participation rate in history. Wow. Good news for the forgotten men and women, the ones that voted for President Trump, even though the fix was in for Hillary. And, of course, they covered up her crimes, and then they turned their sights on Trump, and they even lied to FISA court judges. A massive accomplishment that you never hear about. And yesterday, the president tweeted this out. Our country is doing great. Best financial numbers on the planet. Great to have the USA winning again. And on Friday, we expect that full GDP report for the second quarter. We'll bring you those numbers as they become available. But tonight, we have even more positive developments that you'll never hear in the media on the economic front. After months of negotiations and fear-mongering by the media, oh, he's starting a trade war. Well, the president put fears of that war with Europe to rest as he signed off on a significantly improved trade deal for American businesses, free of tariffs, barriers, and subsidies. Here's the president explaining all of this earlier today. Let's take a look.
We agreed today, first of all, to work together towards zero tariffs, zero non-tariff barriers, and zero subsidies on non-auto industrial goods. Thank you. We will also work to reduce barriers and increase trade in services, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, medical products, as well as soybeans. Soybeans is a big deal. This will open markets for farmers and workers, increase investment, and lead to greater prosperity in both the United States and the European Union. It will also make trade fairer and more reciprocal. My favorite word, reciprocal.
Well, if you didn't negotiate, that wouldn't have happened. And the president pointed out today this deal will open markets for farmers in America, workers, increase investment, lead to greater prosperity in both the U.S. and the European Union. Win-win. Also make trade fairer and more reciprocal, his favorite word, as he said. Great news for goods, services made right here in the United States. Good for the American worker that was unemployed in the Obama years. Now, despite the constant negativity coming from so much of the media and Democrats, you think they want the economy to grow and be prosperous? No, they want their power back. More and more Americans, you're seeing the truth with your own eyes. We got a new poll out today. In spite of all the media hysteria, oh, look at the Hills poll. The president's approval rating is now higher than ever, nearly 50%. Oh, by the way, same with Gallup, same with NBC Wall Street Journal. And on the world stage, the president is also seeing progress, which is good for our kids and grandkids. The president's pick, I think, an excellent choice. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo hit the ground running. He's overseeing steady, significant progress out of North Korea, China, and yeah, we're being tougher on Russia than Obama ever dreamed of, because he was sending messages, tell Vladimir I'll have more flexibility after the election. Well, today, the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, he testified on the Hill, and he explained to some of these dumb senators that the president's peace-through-strength strategy to counter the hostile actions of Vladimir Putin and the hostile regime of Russia, and what we're doing about it. Take a look.
The United States calls on Russia to respect the principles to which it has long claimed to adhere and to end its occupation of Crimea. End of quote. I want to assure this committee that the United States does not and will not recognize the Kremlin's purported annexation of Crimea. We stand together with allies, partners, and the international community in our commitment to Ukraine and its territorial integrity. There will be no relief of Crimea-related sanctions until Russia returns control of the Crimean Peninsula to Ukraine. This Crimea declaration formalizes United States policy of non-recognition.
Formalizes it. Oh, but I think there was somebody at NBC that actually suggested that the president was an agent of Russia. This is how insane so-called news has gotten. Now, the Secretary of State also helped Democratic senators that aren't really too bright, some of them, understand how under the leadership of the president, the U.S. is actually leading from the front all over the world, not from behind. And we're not going on apology tours. And we're not dropping $150 billion on the tarmac in cash and other currency to the mullahs of Iran that chant death to Israel and death to America. Take a look.
Did he tell Putin that I'll release or ultimately relax sanctions?
Senator, what you need to conduct your role, your appropriate role, I will provide you today. That is United States policy with respect to the issues you request. You asked me about U.S. policy with respect to sanctions, and I can confirm to you that no commitment has been made to change those policies in any way. Just so the facts are clear, The previous administration is the one that enabled Russia to have the capacity that they have in Syria today.
I'm not defending the previous administration, Mr. Secretary. I want this administration to continue doing what's working.
Its policy, this administration's policy. You're advocating for the continuation of this administration's policy. I think that's important for everyone to understand.
North Korea still has chemical and biological weapons and brutalizes its own people. And again, there's no verifiable evidence that North Korea is denuclearization.
Senator, we have.
So I am afraid that at this point, the United States, the Trump administration, is being taken for a ride.
Fear not, Senator. Fear not.
There's no evidence to the contrary.
Fear not, Senator.
There's no evidence.
Senator, fear not. May I?
Yes, please.
I guess you didn't ask a question, so I'll.
No, that's all right. Yeah. You can please answer.
Fear not. This administration has taken enormously constructive actions that have put us in a place that is far better than in either of the two previous administrations, one Republican, one Democrat. We have put sanctions regime in place that is unequaled. We are continuing to enforce that sanctions regime.
No missiles fired over Japan, dismantled nuclear test site, hostages turned home. We'll have the bodies of Americans killed in that war sent back. And we're talking about denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and no bribery. Now, last but definitely not least tonight, some major breaking news out of the deep state. This is important. Moments ago, a group of 11 House Republicans have officially now introduced articles of impeachment against the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, the guy that signed the last FISA warrant after months of obstructing what is congressional subpoenas and failing to comply with these subpoenas and inhibiting the important investigation into FISA abuse. Tonight, a lot of reaction. Rudy Giuliani in a minute. Joining us first with reaction is former U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Joe DeGenova, and Fox News contributor Sarah Carter. Sarah, we'll start with you in the breaking news. I think Joe has a lot to say.
Joe does have a lot to say. One of the things that happened today, I think it was the straw that broke the camel's back, Sean, was the fact that when Meadows and Jordan went to meet with the DOJ and FBI, once again, they refused to comply. They said they were in compliance with giving the documents over to Congress. There was, I guess, a lot of arguing back and forth. Jordan and Meadows said they weren't in compliance, that after 9 months, they still didn't even know how many documents they needed to turn over to them. There was another issue that came up, which I thought was very interesting. The FBI did agree with Congressman Jordan that Strzok did not answer 90% of the questions that he could have answered, that he took a very, very broad interpretation. This is Peter Strzok when he provided testimony, the FBI agent. So they are going to be calling Peter Strzok back to testify before Congress, and hopefully he will be answering a lot of the questions that Congressman Jordan had asked him that he refused to answer.
Let me go to you, Joe. He was under oath, and, you know, if you did have your past job, I don't think I would be under oath. But more importantly, let's go to Rod Rosenstein. This is a guy, he signed the fourth warrant, which was the bulk of information, was that phony Russian dossier paid for by Clinton. They didn't tell the FISA court judges. They didn't verify the information. They didn't follow the law. They didn't follow FBI protocol. And Rod Rosenstein signed the last one, the third renewal, the fourth altogether. Your reaction?
Well, there's no doubt that Rod Rosenstein deserves everything that he's getting. Whether or not impeachment is the right way to go doesn't even matter anymore. Rosenstein, remember, didn't even read the final application. He had people explain to him what was in it. Rosenstein is the one responsible for the crisis that the president has faced in the Mueller probe. Without Rosenstein, there is no Mueller probe. He did it purposely to avoid having to make difficult decisions in a political investigation. He should be ashamed of himself. He's getting precisely what he deserves. But what's more important than that, Sean, is that you are watching a president of the United States who is astride the globe, and he is being assisted ably by a Secretary of State in full. We no longer have a namby-pamby foreign policy. We have a Secretary of State who today performed beyond any expectations any Americans could expect of a Secretary of State. I was amazed at Pompeo's performance, and
so
I can tell
funny
you
you say
the
that.
president is really pleased, especially because of the outrageous performance of the Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats, in Aspen, when he kissed the feet of Andrea Mitchell and criticized the President of the United States. Shame on Dan Coats.
I watched Pompeo today, and I literally felt finally no apologies, finally strength. And he laid out all the things that the president, NBC, though, I think reported that he's an agent of Russia, is doing to Russia. But the irony, too, here is, look, we cannot ignore, I got to get your take on this FISA. Listen, if I lied to a FISA judge or I lied to any judge, you couldn't get me out of jail, as great an attorney as you are. If I did obstructed like Hillary, you couldn't get me out of jail. Over. What?
Sean, this case is over. The FBI under Obama and the Department of Justice under Obama with John Carlin, the Assistant Attorney General for National Security, lied to the FISA court, hid material information from the FISA court. It is an outrageous abuse of power, and if Jeff Sessions and Rod Rosenstein have not begun a grand jury to investigate all the people involved in the phony dossier and everything involved on it, ultimately, when Mueller is done, Rosenstein and Sessions should be fired. This is a clear case of criminal law violation in the FISA application. It was clearly a fraud committed on the FISA court, and it is beyond belief that nothing publicly known has been done to hold accountable everybody involved in the signing of those applications to the FISA court.
Sarah, real quick, because we got to run, but you've been amazing on all of this.
I couldn't agree more with Joe. I just want to say really quick, remember what they did leave out of the FISA was the fact that Bruce Orr at the DOJ said that Christopher Steele would do anything to keep Donald Trump from being president. And I think that's all we need to say.
They didn't say that Hillary paid for it and that these were unverified Russian lies. Robert Mueller, there's your Russia story. Go find it. We laid it on a platter for you. Thank you all. When we come back, all right, the president's attorney, Rudy Giuliani. We have a live report from Catherine Herridge on these articles of impeachment introduced. A ton of breaking news. Stay right there.
Fruits and
Fox News alert moments ago, Congressman Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan, along with 9 co-sponsors, now have introduced articles of impeachment against the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein. Here with a new update on this is Catherine Herridge in Washington. Catherine, what's going on?
Thanks, Sean. Good evening. The articles of impeachment call out the Deputy Attorney General and allege a conflict of interest. These heavily redacted records released over the weekend show Rosenstein signed off on the last surveillance warrant renewal in June 2017 for Trump campaign aide Carter Page. These lawmakers say that's a big deal because their committees are investigating government surveillance abuse. Quote, Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein's failure to recuse himself in light of this inherent conflict of interest and failure to recommend the appointment of a second special counsel constitute dereliction of duty. After lawmakers met with senior DOJ and FBI officials earlier today, reporters were told FBI agent Peter Strzok avoided too many questions during his recent congressional testimony, and he will likely be recalled. The closed-door depositions from Strzok and FBI lawyer Lisa Page identified records previously unknown to lawmakers about a file documenting FBI efforts to verify the controversial Trump dossier. Lawmakers question whether verification happened before the dossier was used by the FBI as evidence to secure the surveillance warrant.
Verification or the attempt to verify the dossier, did that begin before or after it was used in the FISA application?
Well, I think that when you look at that, that's the key question that we're looking at these documents. When did it start? And I think those start dates could be problematic for some of the narratives that are out there right now.
Heading into the meeting today, Justice Department officials indicated to Fox News that they believe they have complied with the majority of congressional subpoenas. On the articles of impeachment tonight, there was no immediate response. And in the last hour, Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein and Congressman Adam Schiff called the Republicans' move deeply partisan, Sean.
All right, Catherine Herridge in Washington, thank you for that report. Now with us is the president's attorney, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Mr. Mayor, great to see you.
Sean, good to see you.
All right, a lot of news. Let's get your reaction to Congressman Meadows, Jordan, and more importantly, the fourth Well, the third renewal, the fourth FISA warrant, Rod Rosenstein signed off on.
Rob Rosenstein is one of the people in charge of this case, so I'm not going to get involved in critiquing his conduct unless at the end we have to. I'm hopeful he's going to make the right decision. I see the case falling apart. I see in front of my eyes what happened yesterday with the first of Cohen's tape, what happened today with the one with Chris Cuomo, which is not Cuomo's fault, it's his fault. That one, I mean, they've been saying all along, did the president know about it? Cohen says on the tape he didn't know about it. Did Cohen pay for it? Cohen said he paid for it. Was it for the campaign or was it personal? Cohen says it was personal. Over and over again. Not just one, it's a 2-hour tape. And Cuomo, like a reporter, presses him, and he sticks with his story. Why? Totally, with regard to that particular situation, once again, totally legitimate conduct.
From what we read of this was a 2-hour conversation, but let's go back to last night for just a second. And you have listened to that tape how many times? And some say that it's a check, and you say that the president said check.
The president said, I have it right here.
I have the transcript.
I had 5 people go over it, and then another 5. You got to listen to it 4 or 5 times, which is when I talked about mafia tapes. I wasn't talking about this being a mafia tape. I said, I'm an expert on tapes. I did 4,000 hours of men on tape saying, hey, Rocco, what are we going to do today?
Oh, my gosh. So we're going to put you in the next movie.
Yeah, I wanted to. Yeah. Donald Trump says, don't pay with cash. Interruption. Cohen, no. I got it. Check. No. And then very, very suspiciously, he cuts the tape off because it's a very, very innocent, very solid explanation. Now, here's another reason it had to be checked. Before it, they talk about doing it by corporation. How are they going to do cash through a corporation? $150,000.
It's impossible.
You might as well sign up for jail.
Yeah. Let's look at the big picture. The status, this has gone on. Look at the country, it's so divided. I've been very harsh in terms of, I believe that a presidential election at the highest levels, that the fix was in, that Hillary was guilty of obstruction and violating the Espionage Act, and it was rigged. I believe you see what we learned about the FISA warrants on Saturday night. They never verified the information. They never corroborated the information. They purposely withheld from the judges on 4 separate occasions that this was Hillary Clinton bought and paid for what turned out to be Russian lies. There's a Russia conspiracy here. There's a Russian influence.
If you look at, theoretically, one of the things they're concerned about, did the president obstruct justice when he fired Comey? First of all, he has a right to do it under Article 2. Secondly, he made it clear to Lester Holt he did it knowing that the investigation would continue, so he couldn't have obstructed it. And third, he had about 50 reasons for doing it, including the Horowitz report that kind of outlines it all.
The witness say is Rod Rosenstein.
On the other hand, how does Hillary not get prosecuted for destroying tapes, lying at least 3 or 4 times, having people tell totally phony stories, false exculpatory statements, destruction of evidence? That's all evidence of intent, corrupt intent.
So let's go.
And Mueller reads that all away as if it didn't exist.
You told Laura last night.
Not Mueller, excuse me.
I know, you got it. Comey, got it. You told Laura Ingraham last night that there are no more tapes on Donald Trump. Everyone's reporting it. There's 12 tapes. It makes it sound like
Hannity was running around all weekend saying he said it on ABC. He actually said he got it from Cohen, and I mean, he says it on TV. Dershowitz cross-examined him brilliantly and got him to say he got the tapes from Cohen, and there were numerous tapes with President Trump. Well, the government must be hiding them if that's the case. And I assure you, the Southern District of New York is not hiding evidence. In fact, I can't imagine.
Some of the best prosecutors came out of there.
I can't imagine they aren't shocked by this unbelievable assault on the attorney-client privilege. My God.
Yeah.
I never heard of this.
America's been following this, and I've been given a very different narrative that is really everything we've reported has come true. I wish some of it was wrong, by the way. And I still say that the heroes in this are going to be FBI and CIA guys. My question to you is this now coming to an end? Because you talked last night, and I watched Alan Dershowitz after, that there won't be any talk about obstruction with the president. Then is there going to be a subpoena fight? Is there going to be any discussion about collusion? And why would you ever allow him to talk to this group of people, which I have very strongly criticized?
Well, it certainly is a big barrier. There's no reason to talk about obstruction because Article 2 precludes obstruction. The defenses to obstruction are overwhelming, including what I told you, his saying he knew the investigation would go on to Lester Holt. They conveniently leave that off whenever they play that tape. Amazing what they do with tapes. However, there is a narrow area where Jay and I both think that we might think about it. And we're in discussions with the special counsel about it. It would all have to do with collusion. So there's no perjury trap. It would all be done so we get this thing over with quickly.
Why do I not believe that they could do it without setting a perjury trap?
Well, then they'll give up on the obstruction point, where there's no obstruction case, and what they're trying to set up is the president against Comey, and they're going to believe Comey, no matter the fact that Comey is probably one of the most incredible guys around.
Will this be done before the election?
I believe it will. I think Mueller wants to get it over before the election. I really believe that.
Good for the country.
Yeah.
You think he's a good man?
I think he's okay. I think he's a good man. I think he's got some people around him that
Andrew Weissman is pitbull.
Including one with a record that's astoundingly bad.
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Sir, Mr. Mayor, great to see you as always. Thank you. When we come back, we will show you why John Brennan, former CIA director, deserves to get his security clearance revoked and much more. Straight ahead. All right, the White House announced this week that it was looking into stripping the security clearance from several Obama-era officials. One of the people who may be losing his privileges is, the guy that voted for a communist for president. How he ever became the CIA director is a mystery. Director John Brennan. He's one of the biggest Trump haters out there, now a political hack for Conspiracy Theory TV, where I guess he belongs. Now remember, the CIA protocol says if you want to keep your clearance, you got to act like a modern-day CIA employee. You can't be doing stuff like this.
I think he's afraid of the president of Russia.
Why?
Well, I think one can speculate as to why. That the Russians may have something on him personally that they could always roll out and make his life more difficult.
Mr. Trump continues to have his ignorance of the facts or willful disregard of them. Again, just to follow through on these campaign promises that really were very flawed.
I and so many other former national security officials are speaking out because of the abnormal and aberrant behavior of Mr. Trump.
This is a very large and painful national kidney stone. The relief we feel afterward is going to be just exhilarating.
Here with reaction, he's author of Why We Fight, Recovering America's Will to Win, Fox News national security strategist, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, retired CIA senior intelligence officer, Fox News contributor Daniel Hoffman. Daniel, let me start with you. You know John Brennan. The CIA, we did put it up on the screen last night. Yeah, if you want your clearance, you got to act as though you are the same way a current CIA employee would act. Is that the actions of a current CIA employee?
Not exactly. Let me just make 2 quick points, Sean. First of all, for the rank and file retired intelligence officers who retain a security clearance, it's because they have a job to do as a contractor back in the intelligence community, which requires the clearance. Secondly, there's no evidence that John Brennan or Jim Clapper has revealed classified information. In fact, they have willfully spoken untruths not based on intelligence. Jim Clapper claimed that the Russians tilted the elections to Donald Trump. Not true. And absolutely contradicts the intelligence that was produced and resulted in the January 2017 DNI assessment over which Clapper presided. Brennan claimed that Putin could blackmail Trump. Same thing. There's no evidence to support that claim. So they're both being irresponsible, even though they're not exactly, revealing classified information.
Dr. Gorka, I know you have a thing or two to say on this.
I have 3 things to say, Sean. Number 1, since the CIA was created in 1947, not one former CIA director has behaved as disgracefully as John Brennan. The idea that within months of leaving office, you are attacking the sitting president, calling him treasonous and accusing him of committing high crimes and misdemeanors is absolutely outrageous. Secondly, you mentioned it in your introduction. How is it that John Brennan even got a job at the CIA when he admitted to voting for the Communist Party at the height of the Cold War, when the Soviet Union had 25,000 nuclear warheads aimed at this country and when it was committed to our destruction. I'd like to find an investigation into why he was employed by the CIA, let alone become its director. And lastly, Daniel, let me just expand upon what Daniel said. There are only two reasons after you retire from government service at his level that you should maintain a security clearance. Number one, you are actively involved in current government projects as a contractor. John Brennan isn't. Secondly, your advice is requested by your successors so that the new CIA director can listen to you. This administration does not want John Brennan's advice. Therefore, the president should strip him of his security clearance right now, Sean.
Well said. How do you get to call yourself NBC News and have people under that banner suggesting that without any evidence, oh, the president may be an agent of Russia, an agent, and that he's compromised, when the president's been 10 times stronger, Daniel Hoffman, against Russia than Mr. Apologize for America and bribe the mullahs of Iran with American dollars in cash?
John Brennan later walked that back post facto, but the damage was done, Sean, because a lot of our allies who share intelligence with us heard him, and they assume that based on the fact that John Brennan has that security clearance, he might know something. Same with our sources in Russia who might worry about their safety because John Brennan is claiming that the president could be blackmailed by Vladimir Putin. Brennan needed to have taken the Hippocratic oath of doing no harm to our national security when he exercises his right of free speech.
Dr. Gorka?
Every time John Brennan spins these insinuations, he is doing Vladimir Putin's dirty work. That's who John Brennan is today. He is undermining America.
Well said. Thank you both. When we come back, they're back. Jesse Waters, Jessica Tarlov, will find out whose world it is on Meghan McCain's takedown of Joy Behar in her defense of socialism. Powerful moment. You don't want to miss it next. All right, things got very heated, shocking. On The View yesterday, Joy Behar, Meghan McCain got into a debate over socialism, and Democrats' rising star, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and this is what happened. Take a look.
Isn't democratic socialism very close to liberalism? I mean, no. Well, think about it for a second. Medicare, Social Security, garbage collection, the post office, the library.
I agree with you. I hope Democrats do run a democratic socialist.
Do you hope that we win? Do you win the Democrats?
No, because I think you'll lose spectacularly, and then I will look forward to election night when I finally get to tell everybody I told you so if you end up running a radical. Problem with socialism, in the words of Margaret Thatcher, at a certain point you run out of spending other people's money. Every democratic socialist who is going on TV saying that it's good needs to start paying 90% in taxes.
Iceland.
On your tax form. No, on your tax form. On your tax form, I think you should start paying the amount of taxes that every socialist in this country thinks you need to. Because if you think the government is so good at spending money, look at the VA. No, because it is dangerous. It is dangerous.
Boom. Meghan McCain. The only thing missing was Janine Pirro being thrown off the show. It would have been the perfect show. All right, it's his world, and we live in it. He's got two shows. The co-host of The Five, Jesse Waters, and Waters World, and Waters Everything, and Jessica Tarlov, who was the reigning champion and lost your thing. All right, so this is the Democrat agenda for 2018. They want to impeach Donald Trump, but they don't want to say it. They want their crumbs back. We'll get to that in a second. That's what Meghan McCain was talking about. They want open borders, get rid of ICE. They want to keep Obamacare. That's been a great success. And on top of all of that, we got a party that literally wants to stop investigations into corruption. Why do you explain to Americans why they should give their crumbs to Nancy Pelosi, Elizabeth Warren, and Joy Behar?
Oh, and donations money? Because they're actually, when Democrats get into...
No.
Why they should take that $1,000 and give it to the Democrats?
Or $2,000 or a significant amount of money for real families. Yeah,
well,
why should they give it back?
There are new reports that wages haven't actually been increasing, but I get that the tax cuts were a big bonus for the Republican side there. They should give to Democrats because our agenda will actually benefit middle and lower class Americans, and that's not what's going on here.
So you want every American that got a tax cut to be taxed again. You want it back.
No. That's not what's going to happen. First of all, the mega rich are the ones that you two are getting taxed. I'm not even going to get taxed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You have no idea how much Jesse gets paid.
Yeah.
Or
whatever
me.
it is, it's not enough.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say this. You want to bring Venezuela to America, I think that's terrible. Because in Venezuela, human beings are taking dog medicine. There is famine. It is the murder capital of the world. I think if you want to bring socialism to America, you hate America because it is going to destroy America. And politically, it's suicide to become socialist. Look what you guys did in 1994. You